Show you what my lawn looks like in my backyard. You can see right over here how brown it is, and it's like that in the whole lawn, right? And even that field behind me, right, where it's not developed, is all brown, right? And we haven't had enough moisture, can't keep enough on it. So I've given up on it, all right? And I kind of want to point that out because it's kind of like a lot of things in life, right? I mean, you work really hard at it, and then at some point, you're tired of fighting with it, and you just give up on it. You just let it run its course. Where we're at in life when you hit, I'm 52, and there's a lot of people at this age in their life where they just decide that they don't want to fight anymore. Right? They've spent all of these years fighting with their kids, and fighting with their parents. And, it's very difficult to be in a caregiver situation where you're raising your parents and then trying to get your kids old enough where they can have life of their own and they get married, after school and all that stuff. And you're just exhausted. You're just exhausted. I know a lot of you are exhausted, right? You're exhausted from just raising your kids and just being the parent that they needed you to be your entire life, and looking after your kids and providing for them and going to work every single day and going to work when you're sick. Um, it wears on you. And when you get older, your body doesn't recover the way that it did when you were younger. It doesn't recover in the sense that, when I was younger, and I was sick, I would still go into work. Now I'm sick, I'm on the couch for 2 straight days, right? Laid up in bed trying to, get over whatever cold that I had. And it's just a realization that you have when you hit this age that, you can't continue to keep on going on like that, right? You don't have the strength, you don't have the willpower. And for most of our life, we fit ourselves into a mold that we created for ourselves. All right. And I think that for a lot of parents my age that are like in their 50s, mid 50s or whatever, you're kind of going through this transitional time in your life, right? You're going through this transitional time where you realize that, I might have created a lot of these things that I'm tired of now, right? And what I mean by that is that, sometimes, we have a house that's maybe too big for us now, that we have kids that are outside of the house. But I've worked really, really hard to pay that mortgage down for the last 20 or 30 years. And I don't know that I want it anymore, right? I don't know that I want the expense of a big house and all the expenses that go along with it, the property taxes and the maintenance and all that stuff. Might be thinking about selling my house soon. I'm sure a lot of people are in this situation, right? And I think that a lot of times, the bills that we've created for ourselves, in this mold that we've created for ourselves, we've done it to ourselves, right? So if I get so bogged down with monthly payments on boats and the house and property and even a vacation home, or all of these like monthly expenses like cars, and you have to get a new car every few years and stuff like that, you're constantly keeping yourself in this, on the rat trap, on the wheel, and you're just ensuring that you are going to continue to keep on working, right? And working to the point where you can't ever slow down with working, because I got all this monthly nut that I have to crack every single month because of what I've created for myself, right? And I just have gotten to the point where I'm realizing that I don't need any of that shit. I don't need all the cars and the house and all that stuff. I need to start downsizing, right? And at some point I got to realize that, you know, the dream that we've all had of retirement is been a dream. It's been a freaking dream. It's been a dream for a lot of people because they work their entire lives for the opportunity to be able to retire. And then when they get to the point where they're going to retire and they can't afford to retire, they can't afford to retire because of their monthly expenses are so high, right? And they haven't downsized their house, and get away, B. And the problem that I have with working till I'm of retirement age is that a lot of times people are not working till their retirement age. They're working till they die, right? And I don't want to be that person, right? My family's getting old enough where my kids are having kids of their own, and now I'm a grandparent, and I want to enjoy them. I want to enjoy them. Like my father passed away when I was younger, like maybe 22, and my oldest son was 9 months old when my father passed away, and he never met my son. And I never ever want to be in that situation again where I'm working myself to death, right? It's like, because we're in a situation where it's not work till you retire, it's work till you die, right? And the older that we're getting, I'm finding that the realization is starting to set in that the retirement age is starting to pick up, right? I've worked my entire life and watched all of the people who were in front of me retire at 62 years old. 62, you got to get to 62, 62, 62, 62. I don't know that most people can retire at 62. I mean, first of all, they're living longer, so their life expectancy is going to be into the 80s, so is your retirement funded enough for you to be able to last, 28 years or whatever, or 18 years for some people? In some people's cases, no, especially if you have some additional like medical needs, and you have to have people come into your home to help take care of you and stuff like that. We don't plan for any of that stuff, right? We don't plan to get sick, right? And so I think that it is a realization that a lot of people have at my age, where you start to look back more than you're looking ahead, and you're having an understanding that you have fewer years in front of you than you do behind you, right? And listen, I was busy all of the time, just like all of you are. Everybody is busy, right? So, but I think that I've created a lot of that business for myself because of the amount of bills that I had, the size of my house, the cars that I had, and everything else. And just keeping that up every single month just ensured that I was going to keep on working until I die, right? And I don't want to do that, because at some point at the second half of my life, I gotta reinvent myself, right? Because I don't need to be that working person anymore. Not to the level that I was before, right? I don't need all of that stuff, right? And I shouldn't have to be in a position where I have to work that hard in order to have the last remaining surviving days of my life be filled with work, 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 right? So I need to alter a bunch of things. I need to reevaluate my health situation, my finances, my my personality. Who am I going to be in the second half of my life? Am I going to be the person that's tied to my job, and have to work till I die? No, that's a hell no for me. All right. So this is the reason why I'm making this video. And, it's a realization, like I said, when you get to this point in your life where you're getting a little bit older, and you're realizing that, work till you die is not an option. Right. It's not. So what do you also do when you get to the point where, say for an example, your children are out of the house, you might have been a caretaker to your older aging parents, and they're gone, and now you have this empty nest thing going on, all right? So these are normally the years of your life where you're at like the highest earning potential for your life. But what happens if you're at like the highest pinnacle of work, right? So you have like, there's no more advancement opportunities for you. You're already, at the top of, your work and stuff like that. At some point you get bored, right? And there's not enough variety. You've been doing it long enough that you could do it with your eyes closed, right? And that starts to become a problem for you too, because at some point you just want more variety and more, um, you know, opportunities to, have the day be mixed up a little bit. And when you're at the pinnacle of work, it there's no more challenge for you there, right? So then we just get to the point where it's like, why am I doing this? Why am I getting up every single day to go to a job that I could do like a monkey can do, right? I've mastered all the skills there. I've taught everybody everything that they know. And why am I there? Why am I there? I'm just basically there to collect a paycheck because, like I said previously, I've created an environment where I have to keep on working, right? I have to keep that money coming in to service all the debt that I have, but not anymore. We're changing that. Now, eventually you get to the point where you're old enough and you're nearing retirement and you're not thinking about yourself anymore, right? Those days of thinking about yourself and um, thinking that I have to work more so that I could save more and be in a position where I can, have the boat on the weekends and, the car and all that stuff. You don't need any of that crap. You know, you don't need any of that crap, but it makes you start thinking about all the other stuff that you weren't thinking about before, right? Because we're young and we don't think about our health, right? You never think you're going to get sick. I never think I'm going to get sick, but when I do, I'll tell you, it's a hell of a lot harder now, right? And even just common colds put me on my ass, right? And so, like I said before, I would have colds before, and I would go into work, no big deal. But now I have colds, and like I said, I'm literally on the couch for a few days. I just cannot get over it as fast as I used to. It just takes everything out of me, right? And so, like I said, at my age, I think we all start thinking about our health and what it means to be healthy and eat right. When we're young, we don't think about eating right. You eat whatever the heck you want, right? And you just think that I'll work it off, or, I'll exercise more. And eventually you get to the point where you're like old enough and you realize that taking weight off is a hell of a lot harder than it used to be when you were younger, right? And um, I can tell you that no exercise program in the world can exercise you enough to bypass a poor eating habit, right? I can out eat any diet out there, guaranteed. I will freaking consume 3, 4, 5,000 calories a day if I want to. All right. And sometimes it's a struggle not to do that. Right. And I don't want to make this video thinking that, I eat that poorly, but I'm just saying sometimes it seems like the more you exercise, I mean, I'm out exercising every single day now. Right. And I walk anywhere from 3 to 6 miles every day. Right. And I'm still having a tough time losing weight. And I think that largely it's because the more activity level that I have, the more my hunger increases and the more I eat. Listen, it doesn't help that I sit around at night and watch television and snack at night. That hasn't helped, right? I know there's a lot of things that I have to change. But all of that to say that, um, we can take a couple things that are going on in our life to use as analogies of how our life is not evolving the way that we want it to, right? So I want to show you something. I don't know if you can see it that well. See that tree right there? You see how it's coming out of the ground and the trunk is basically following where my finger is. So it's going from the bottom, it's curling over, and then it eventually gets to the point where it goes up that way. Now that tree right there, that was planted and secured up when it was very young, and it even had like a great, um, metal uh, mesh thing around it to keep the deer off of it while it was like really young. But the analogy that I want to show is the fact that even this tree right here, at some point, is going to need to decide to do something. Either it's going to continue to keep on growing crooked like that, or it's going to decide to start growing straight. Now, it's the analogy that I want to use in this video right now, that at some point, meaning me and you and everybody else who's of this age right now, you got to make a decision, right? You got to make a decision whether or not you're going to continue to keep on living life the way that you are right now at your age, or are you going to make a decision to start changing things, right? Because if you continue on the path that you're on, you're going to be on that path till you die, right? And I know that those are strong words, and a thought that a lot of people don't want to think about, but at some point you have to. At some point you have to decide whether or not you want to keep on working till you die. And I don't want to be in that situation. I really don't. Like I said, I've got kids, and they have families of their own, and I want to spend time with them. I want to be around for them. I want to see them grow up. I want to see them have children of their own, right? And all of those things can be done, but you got to make a decision to do it, right? So at some point, you got to start reinventing yourself, right? And you have to make a decision to decide that you don't want to keep on working like that, because you're going to start making changes that are going to make you start slowing down, right? And if it means that you have to evaluate your retirement situation and figure out if you can reduce your bills to the point where maybe you could, get by on a part-time job, or a job, even a full-time job that doesn't require you to have as much stress as you have now, but you can get along a lot easier because you've reduced all of your other expenses, and you can divert more money into your retirement, so that when you do decide to stop working altogether, that you have a nest egg. Listen, for a lot of us, we should have thought about this a long, long time ago. And I didn't. I didn't think about this a long, long time ago. I mean, I thought about it enough long ago that I'm able to do what I'm able to do now. But I just wanted to, share my thoughts with getting to the point where I'm like in my mid 50s, and I have to make a decision on whether or not I'm going to continue with this path of, working hard and, working till I die, or rearranging my life around so that I don't have to continue to keep on working like that, right? Because at some point, life is not going to be fulfilling enough for me to continue to keep on working every single day when it's getting in the way of me spending time with my family, right? And it's already starting to do that, because I've got a lot of opportunities to spend time with family, and birthdays, and hey, do you want to go out to the movies, and blah blah blah. And how many times do we wind up using the excuse, I have to work, right? And that's not an excuse that I want to give to my family much longer, because I've already been doing it for the last 35 years and I'm tired of it. All right. So if you're in the same boat, leave a comment below. Let me know if you're just as tired of this as I am. I'm going to start making more series of videos on, the second half of our lives, and, what I'm starting to do to change that. And this is the first one of that. And, don't hammer me too much on my burnt up lawn. I took a chance on, using an analogy of that bush back there. So hopefully it resonates with some of you who are watching. So this is Built Not Hacked, and I'm Bruce, and I'll see you in the next one.